Hi, my name is Arshdeep Grewal. I'm a multicultural outreach service worker at MOSAIC, and I'll be presenting on consent and rape culture. So what is consent? Consent is an enthusiastic, freely given agreement to engage in sexual activity. Sex may be more taboo in some cultures. Therefore, sex and consent is not viewed as something to discuss or communicate. But it is our duty to respect each other's bodily autonomy and boundaries. It does not matter if it is a hookup or if it is a partner. You always need to ask for consent. So how do you know if you have consent? We can use FRIES as our consent checklist. F is for freely given. Consent is freely given. You should never manipulate, threaten, or coerce someone to have sex. It must be a mutually communicated agreement. Consent is reversible. Consent is not a contract or predetermined. People can withdraw their consent when they want to. Consent is informed. It is the responsibility of the initiator to inform all parties about what they are consenting to. For example, if the person you're having sex with consented to having sex with a condom, but you took the condom off without asking for consent, this would be considered sexual assault. Specifically, this would be stealing. Consent should be enthusiastic. All parties should be enjoying themselves and be into it. Check in and communicate to know what they are comfortable with, and don't manipulate an indecisive decision. Consent is specific and ongoing. You should be asking for consent for each new activity. If someone consents to kiss you, that does not mean they consent to have sex with you too. Communication is important, regardless if it's verbal or not. Respect their answer, whether it's a yes, no, or indecision. We can also look towards the Canadian Criminal Code to understand more about how to ask for consent. Consent cannot be given legally if the person is impaired by drugs or alcohol, unconscious, or asleep. The legal age of consent for sexual activity in Canada is 16 years of age. Consent cannot be given where one party is abusing a position of trust, power, or authority. This could be a professor, a teaching assistant, an employer, or a landlord. Other things to remember about consent are that consent is not always verbal. Gender and cultural dynamics, as well as lingual diversity, affect the way that we communicate with one another. In some cultures, it's sometimes considered rude to outright say no, and for others, they might be worried about spoiling the moment. For this reason, it is important to not put so much emphasis on yes and no, but to put more emphasis on communication and understanding when asking for consent. No still means no, but so does I don't want to, maybe another time, I'm uncomfortable, this doesn't feel right. Maybe we should wait and stop. Many of us speak more than one language at home, and some of us are more comfortable communicating in languages other than English. The word consent may not exist in every language, so it is important to keep asking different questions and ensure that consent is there. Instead of saying, "Do I have your consent?" you can say the following: "May I kiss you? Does this feel okay? Are you okay with this? Do you like when I..." Remember, consent is about communication, not about assumptions. Always check in with all parties. International students are more likely to minimize their victimization of sexual violence due to the misperception that sexual violence only encompasses rape. However, sexual violence is an umbrella term for any non-consensual sexual behavior, actions, or threats that are unwanted, and that sexual violence can include sexual exploitation, sexual harassment, stalking, groping, etc. Sexual assault falls under the umbrella of sexual violence and is defined as any non-consensual sexual contact or activity, including the threat of such activity. It can involve the use of physical force, intimidation, coercion, or the abuse of position of trust or authority. Rape culture is a culture that normalizes and excuses sexual violence through its values, beliefs, and behaviors. We can look at the rape culture triangle to understand further what a rape culture society looks like. We say that rape culture starts at the bottom of the triangle, where behaviors, attitudes, and words are normalized by society. When we normalize things such as sexist attitudes, rape jokes, or catcalling, we allow for the acts at the top of the triangle to occur. Therefore, we need to intervene or address the beliefs and attitudes at the base of the triangle in order to prevent behaviors from the top to less likely manifest. For example, let's say you just finished an exam and on your way out, your friend says, "That exam raped me." When you tell your friend how rape jokes are harmful, your friend says, "Well, it was just a joke." You can explain how the rape triangle works and how your friend's words contribute to rape culture in our society. By intervening at the bottom of the triangle with behaviors such as rape jokes, you're preventing the behaviors at the top of the triangle. If you are in immediate danger and fear for your safety, call 911. Access 24 hours, 7 days a week support from Victim Link at 1-800-563-0808. Reach out and speak to a worker in the violence prevention programs and access supports from MOSAIC. To ask about community resources in your area, call 211.